So there was a bit of a dry spell when it comes to hints towards the new DC movie universe from James Gunn, and understandably so, since the huge announcements came just a few weeks ago, but in the last couple of days, possibly fueled by the higher presence on social media due to the releases of the trailers of The Flash and Guardians of the Galaxy, he's been liking, replying, and reposting so many things about the DCU. In this video, I'll be going over all these hints and let you guys know what I think they might mean for the future of this universe. Some of these hints basically confirm that certain characters are appearing, but they also kind of confirm characters that are not appearing in at least Chapter 1, so make sure to subscribe and let's begin. Gunn liked the tweet of a fan making a graphic for the confirmed slate of Chapter 1 with the caption adding hopes in the future for a Green Arrow movie and the Martian Manhunter series. It is possible that Gunn didn't even notice the caption and just liked for the graphic, but honestly that barely really matters since both of these characters have been hinted at before, so this really just adds a bit of fuel to each respective fire. Green Arrow especially has been hinted at many times and is probably an early project that hasn't been confirmed yet. Like, it was surprising to me that a Green Arrow movie was not a part of the initial announcement. On the other hand, Martian Manhunter was only hinted at through an article that Gunn liked about the slate and what it should look like. This was prior to its actual announcement, and the article had a Martian Manhunter movie as a part of the slate. This, however, is a much more direct hint towards Martian Manhunter, and the caption even specifies a TV show. I do think that history has proven that characters like Martian Manhunter, and honestly Martian Manhunter himself, are very difficult to pull off on TV, and I really don't want another version of the character who's in human form all of the time, so I'd personally much prefer either a movie, an animated project of any sort, or just appearances in the Justice League movie, because honestly, I would rather other characters get their own project. Moving on from that, James Gunn liked a tweet of someone saying that it'd be an honor if he were to adapt the Huntress into the DCU, which is the first real hint towards this character. Although the Helena Wayne version of the character did appear in a picture that Gunn shared, she was only in the background and she wasn't the focus, plus it's certainly the Helena Bertinelli version of the character who will appear in the DCU if she does at all, possibly in her own project, or maybe alongside the Question in a possible Question project, which was hinted at yet again, taking heavy inspiration from what is arguably both characters' most popular appearances, Justice League Unlimited. Speaking of the Huntress and Question as a couple, James Gunn liked a few tweets on Valentine's Day that relate towards famous DC couples, including Green Arrow and Black Canary, which is actually the second hint towards the pair after the article that I mentioned earlier, which also included a Green Arrow movie as a part of the slate, and mentioned that Black Canary should appear, but it is also the first hint directly towards Black Canary herself, as that mention in the article was the only one up until now. Like I said, a Green Arrow project, or more specifically a Green Arrow and Black Canary movie, is a very likely early unannounced project. Another tweet he liked on Valentine's Day is an image of Superman and Lois kissing, with the caption asking if Superman will be finding his Valentine in Superman Legacy. This is technically the first hint towards Lois Lane, which basically confirms that she will be appearing in Superman Legacy, but obviously we could have assumed so anyway. It would have been ridiculous if she didn't. Gunn responded to someone asking if Creature Commandos is in production or not, to which he said that it is. What this means is probably the voice recording has already begun and maybe even animation, but that isn't really all that surprising, since Creature Commandos already had art associated with it, is the first project in the DCU to release, which means probably 2024, but also these things take a lot of time to complete, so they would have to have started already. Still, it's very refreshing for things at DC to get announced and then to go into production as quickly as things like Creature Commandos and Peacemaker before it did. Although, to add to that, James Gunn did say that Creature Commandos and Superman Legacy actually didn't enter production all that quickly, since they were both put into development before he became co-CEO. Still, the point still stands. The Flash took like 8 years to be made. It's still much faster than DC has been in the past. This next one might be a big one, but at the same time, it might mean absolutely nothing. James Gunn replied to a tweet asking if he's read Mark Waid's Flash run, to which he said, of course. Mark Waid's Flash is the popular Wally West focused run in the 90s, where many key elements of the Flash mythos originate, like a lot of the most famous villains, as well as the Speed Force. This is the first hint towards a possibility of Wally West being the Flash and not Barry Allen, although I have mentioned in previous videos that just Damian Wayne being Robin would suggest that Dick is Nightwing, which also would suggest that all of the other Teen Titans Dick Grayson generation are adults as well, including Wally West. West, so it was never out of the question that Wally West would be the Flash. But I think this does add a bit of fuel to that fire, and I would not be against it at all. It is something that I would definitely welcome. Gunn has now said that Batman hasn't been cast yet, which connects to an incredibly stupid rumor, and it gives me the opportunity to talk about it, which is that George Clooney will be the DCU's Batman. I cannot believe that people actually thought this was real. George Clooney is over 60 years old and was Batman in one of the worst superhero movies ever made. People actually thought this was real. Sure, he might appear in The Flash as a small cameo or something, but people thought that this was real. He was going to be the DCU Batman? That's crazy. Gunn did shut down that rumor earlier and has now added to that Batman hasn't been cast yet, and I gotta say, we are so lucky we have such a transparent head of DC Studios, because the rumors that circulate sometimes get so damn stupid. To that point of George Clooney being 61 years old, Gunn also reinforced what I've been saying for a while now, which is that he's never actually mentioned that Superman will be 25, or even that he's going to be early into his career, just that he's younger than in his 40s, that he's younger than Henry Cavill, and that Batman might be a couple years older. This statement makes the timeline that I put together make even more sense, as in that timeline, Superman is around 30 at the point that Superman Legacy comes out, and he's not exactly early into his career, as he became Superman when he was like 22, and Batman is only a few years older at 34. So this doesn't have all that much to do with James Gunn, but Frank Grillo, the actor who played Crossbones in the MCU, posted an image of the DC logo with the caption, "The only constant in life is #change, something's coming," with also he tags James Gunn. My immediate thought was that he would be a very good Deathstroke, but then a comment of his on an Instagram post by James Gunn resurfaced regarding Creature Commandos. Now it seems like he might be playing Rick Flag Sr., as the image of him we see kind of looks a bit like Frank Grillo, although I'm not all that convinced because it's a bit weird. Frank Grillo is only 14 years older than the actor who plays his son, Joel Kinnaman, and the actor who plays him is Swedish while he is Italian-American. My point is that the two actors, and by extension the two characters, don't really look or feel like father and son, and it's possible that he'll be playing Frankenstein, G.I. Robot, or Dr. Phosphorus, although we'll just have to wait and see which it is. It's definitely Rick Flag Sr., which is the most likely. The rest of the video was kind of crazy because James Gunn went on this tear of liking and replying to so many articles about characters who will be appearing in the DCU, and he says specifically like half of these characters will be appearing, but also half of them won't be. So there's a lot of speculation about characters who will be appearing, but also characters who may not be appearing at all in at least Chapter 1. The first of these articles isn't really that. He gets a little bit less specific, he doesn't reply to it, he only likes it, and it's an article from Looper, which is a list of obscure DC Comics characters who deserve the James Gunn film treatment. This list includes Animal Man, the Female Furies, the former Charlton Comics characters, Jack Knight aka Starman, as well as Ambush Bug. On top of that, throughout the article, other associated characters are mentioned as well, including other Justice League Europe members aside from Animal Man, those being Elongated Man, Metamorpho, and Rocket Red. Then there's also other new gods aside from the Female Furies, including Mr. Miracle, Granny Goodness, and Darkseid. Then, aside from Starman, there's also his brother Jack Knight. So let's break all of these characters down, and the status of if they've been hinted at before, and also whether this means anything for the DCU. This is the first hint towards Animal Man, and I could definitely see Gunn making an Animal Man project, most specifically probably a TV show, and since he's the thumbnail and the first item in the article, that holds much more weight than the rest of the article. And Animal Man as a character, he breaks the fourth wall, he's very wacky and out there, he definitely feels up James Gunn's alley. The other Justice League Europe characters I think are less likely to appear. Metamorpho has been hinted at in the past, but both hints are so weak that I don't really think they mean anything, and while he might appear, I don't see him appearing in Chapter 1 unless it's in like a animated form or in an Outsiders project. Elongated Man is also less likely to appear. This is the first time he's been hinted at, and if they were going for a stretchy DC character, they'd go for the more popular Plastic Man. Rocket Red has also never been hinted at in the past, and considering his similarities in just power set to Iron Man and his lack of popularity, I don't think he'll be appearing anytime soon. Then there's the female Furies, with specifically Big Barda, Bernadette, Stampa, and Lashina being name-dropped. This is the first hint aside from a reference to the New Gods in the previous article that I mentioned earlier. I cannot see the female Furies getting their own project, but I could definitely see a Mr. Miracle TV show happening, inspired by Tom King's run, and then Big Barda would be the biggest character aside from Scott Free. Bernadette, Stampa, and Lashina would also appear in this TV show, with the rest of the referenced New Gods, Darkseid and Granny Goodness, maybe appearing down the line. If they are like the big bads of this saga, we don't know who that will be, but Darkseid is definitely a strong candidate. Then there's the Charlton Comics characters, with specifically Captain Atom, The Question, Ted Kord, and Nightshade all being name-dropped. Captain Atom has been hinted at before, and I could definitely see him appearing in Chapter 1. The Question has also been hinted at before, and I think he will definitely appear in Chapter 1, as he's been hinted at twice before, and also very recently. I think he'll get a noir detective conspiracy thriller TV show on HBO Max, which would be pretty awesome. Ted Kord has been hinted at before in association with the Blue Beetle movie, with the concept art showing Kord Industries, with Blue Beetle in general being his moniker, and also Booster Gold on the horizon. I think all of those together means that Ted Kord will definitely appear sometime in the DCU. Whether or not he's already dead or not, I think they'll likely go for an actual alive Ted Kord, so they could have that duo of Blue Beetle and Booster Gold. As for Nightshade, she's easily the least likely to appear anywhere, but maybe as a minor character in Peacemaker like Judo Master was, although a lesser role than Judo Master because he actually had a fairly large one. Honestly, nobody cares about this character. She's never been hinted at before, and I doubt she'll appear anywhere in the DCU. The final character in this article is Starman, with the versions of the character being name-dropped being David Knight and Jack Knight, and they said that Jack Knight should be the main character, but also there's a whole legacy of Starmen who have never appeared in live action, including their father, the original Starman, Ted Knight, Prince Gavin, William Payton, Thom Callor, and Michael Thomas, and the only Starman who has appeared in live action, Sylvester Pemberton, was never Starman in the comics. He was the Star-Spangled Kid, and he was Skyman, but never Starman. So yes, like the article says, Starman has mostly flown under the radar and has no representation in outside media, so he should definitely get a project in the DCU, and I could see that happening, although I don't think it's a high priority. So this next one is a very big one, and it confirms certain characters, or basically confirms certain characters who are not appearing in the DCU, plus characters who are. Gunn replied to a post on Instagram that put together a poll of some sorts where people voted on the characters they'd like to see in the DCU the most, who haven't already been confirmed. Among the top 10, from least voted to most voted, include Constantine, Mr. Freeze, Court of Owls, Zatanna, Red Hood, Deathstroke, Brainiac, Lobo, Martian Manhunter, and at number 1, Nightwing. In response to this, Gunn said, will 5 of 10 do, hinting that 5 of these characters will appear in what I assume is just Chapter 1, but also 5 of them won't be appearing. And first of all, no, 5 of 10 won't do, but if only half of these characters will be appearing, here's who I think it'll be. First of all, I think we can eliminate the characters who might be getting Elseworlds projects instead, like the Court of Owls and Mr. Freeze have a larger likelihood of appearing in the Batman universe, or even John Constantine, who is appearing in the recently confirmed to be still in development sequel to the Keanu Reeves Constantine movie. Those 3 also just so happen to be the least voted characters in the top 10. From the 7 remaining characters, it's a huge shame, but the ones who have been hinted at the least are Zatanna, who's been hinted at through a hint only towards Justice League Dark, which because of the sequel to Constantine seems a little bit less likely, as well as Brainiac, who hasn't been hinted at all so far, at least as far as I can tell. And the 5 remaining characters include Jason Todd, aka the Red Hood, who has been hinted at directly once, Deathstroke, who's been hinted at multiple times, Lobo, who has a huge amount of hints, Martian Manhunter, who's been hinted at twice, and Dick Grayson, aka Nightwing, who at this point, with a certain article we'll get to in a minute, has basically been confirmed. So Nightwing, Martian Manhunter, Lobo, Deathstroke, and Red Hood will be appearing, while Brainiac, Zatanna, the Court of Owls, Mr. Freeze, and John Constantine won't be. But like I said, 5 out of 10 isn't enough. It would be a huge shame if Brainiac is still not used as a villain in a Superman movie, and it'd be a huge shame for Zatanna to not appear anytime soon, but just based on the hints and Elseworlds projects, these are the characters who James Gunn is most likely referring to. But maybe Zatanna could appear in Constantine 2, or maybe she and or Brainiac will appear in the DCU, and let's say Lobo will be Elseworlds since there's a conflict of Jason Momoa playing Aquaman as well. James Gunn replied to yet another article, this time of 8 characters they'd like to see in the DCU, but he replied by saying, will 4 of 8 do? This time, however, we don't need to speculate at all because he liked another tweet with the 4 characters that would quote-unquote do, meaning 4 characters are confirmed to be appearing, but also 4 characters are confirmed to not be appearing. The 4 characters in this list who are not appearing are Tara, which is fine because she's only ever really interesting or important in the Judas Contract in that one storyline, and it's been done to death. Kyle Rayner, which makes perfect sense since he's Green Lantern number 5, and they still haven't even nailed the most important Green Lantern, so let's focus on that first. John Kent, which isn't surprising since Clark is going to be younger and most likely childless. And finally, Arsenal, which is very disappointing. I would have loved to see Roy in a Green Arrow movie and or a Titans movie with a shared past with Dick, Wally, and the rest of the original Titans. Then there are the 4 characters who at this point are basically confirmed to be appearing because of this reply, and the fact that he liked it. These include Nightwing, who's been hinted at so many times at this point, plus now he's basically been confirmed. Vixen, who was only hinted at a few days ago when Gunn replied to a tweet asking if he likes Vixen, to which he said, yes, a lot. That is already a huge hint, but now with this hint, she's also basically been confirmed. Static, who was hinted at alongside the rest of the Milestone universe twice before and hinted at more directly a few days ago as well, when James Gunn liked to tweet asking if there's room in the DCU's heart for Static, but again, he's now basically been confirmed. And finally, Cassandra Cain, who I don't think has ever been hinted at before, unless you count the confirmation of the Bat family appearing as a hint towards her. This is super interesting, however, not only because Cassandra is a super cool character and can be very badass, but also, she's like at the end of the pecking order for the Bat family. She does predate Damian as Robin in the comics, but the Robins kinda get priority and the timeline could be changed a bit. Cassandra being Batgirl, or even Orphan, means that Barbara Gordon and Stephanie Brown probably already exist as well at this point, so it definitely seems like James Gunn has every intention of introducing the entirety of the extended Bat family, or at the very least all the Robins and Batgirls. We'll see if that means Batwoman, Batwing, Signal, and all of the rest will be appearing as well, although those characters are a little bit less likely in my opinion. And to wrap things up for this video, James Gunn replied to somebody asking if we'll be getting any major casting announcements in the next 6 months, to which he said yes, so there's definitely something to look forward to in the near future.